Shalom, Israel. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostle, elder bishops of Great Millstone. My salutation to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect most high will. To the hopeful extended elect Shalom. Multitude blessings, men, women, and children, and getting right into it. It's a quick video. This is America's modern day Rome. This is a reincarnation, pretty much, of Rome. This whole system. We often say this is the last leg of Rome, and in Revelation, it's spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And if you have the spirit of Yahweh Yahweh Shai, is be easy to put this together. Of course, men are taught. Men teach it. The Holy Spirited men, the Most High set up teaches you. And this America. I looked up ChatGPT, how America mirrors Rome, and there's 8. They have 8 right here listed, 8 ways. And I'm not going to read them all, but from republic to empire, Rome, it began as a republic with elected officials. America began as a republic where it be a centralized power. Rome gradually expanded through military conquest. America expanded influence globally through the military bases, wars, and alliances. Rome eventually controlled vast territories beyond Italy. America exercised power more through economics, culture, and military presence than former conquest. Their military dominance, their citizenship, and identity struggles is the same kind of listing. Wealth, inequality, same thing. Political polarization and corruption. Entertainment as distraction. Moral and cultural anxiety. And 8, overextension in his list. Parallels. Power becomes harder to maintain than to acquire. Of course, it's going to say America's not Rome. Spiritually, they don't. It's not a spiritually defined in this chat GPT, but biblically and spiritually defined it is. And going back, of course, we bring this out that if you look in the MOTB in the scriptures, it goes back to charagma, incision or stamp imprinted, a branding, a mark branded upon horses, which happened in Rome, and it also definitely happened in slavery. Here's some pictures of branding in Rome. Hard labor, whippings, branding of the joints or bones, branded of the forehead with letters denoting the slave as a runaway, liar, or a thief, and crucifixion were all punishments that were inflicted upon Roman slaves. And here's American branding. They do show some back in ancient Rome type of pictures of branding, so it was a thing. So this is a form of modern day slavery. And what does it say about? I looked it up in GP chat too. Did Rome brand their slaves? Yes, right here. Rome did use branding on slaves, though it was not a universal one. Was usually reserved for specific situations. Punitive branding: slaves who ran away, committed crimes, or were considered rebellious were sometimes branded as punishment. And what are they waiting for? Overall rebellion, revolt against the system, especially with our people, because they deem us a radical people, not only as Israelites, but as the average black man, the average so-called black man, um, black woman, children. They sometimes refer to us as monkeys, beast, you know, uncivilized, and as well as the other tribes too, northern kingdom tribes too. Public identification. Sometimes some brands mark that a slave as a fugitive if captured and returned, or as belonging to the state. So look, that's ownership. Um, especially in mines and gladiator schools, deterrence. The threat of branding served as a warning to other enslaved people, where the brand was placed commonly on the forehead, especially for repeat runaways. On the forehead, man. Sometimes on the arms or legs. Forehead branding was especially degrading because it was visible and permanent, man. And that's what that MOTB is gonna be. Is gonna be permanent. Like once you get it, even on a level of disregard to the Most High, you're gonna you're basically, you know, it's gonna be a shame up on you, and they're basically turning your back against the Most High, and his son. It says what the brand said: letters or symbols were burned into the skin, you know, and that could that's similar to the grievous sore today. It's going to be a grievous sore upon them that took the mark. A common mark for fugitive was FVG. Fugitivis equals runaway. Other marks could indicate ownership or punishment. So is let me see. Is agreement, let me see. How can I ask this? Is taking it a device demanded of slave masters considered. Let me just see what they say. A form of worship. And they're gonna, of course, say this because they're trying to say what worship is. They're trying to say that taking the device is not worshiping the beast. Um, Worship actually is across the Bible and classical theology. Worship involves alliance, recognize ultimate authority, thus with allegiance. Um, recognizing ultimate authority. If you're getting um, or in a situation to where you get branded, even going back to the ancient world or even in slavery, of course, I looked it up and it says, well, that's you know, declaring ownership by the ones that do it. Well, that's basically you in alliance with your so-called slave master. You know, whether you like it or not, because you're tied to that person. That brings you back to that. Like if they find you, they're gonna be like, oh, you belong to so and so. You know, and I don't think it said this, but I'm pretty sure they have specific, um, just like branding with a product that you come out with. Everybody has their own specific brand. So if a family owned a slave, they have their own type of brand that they want to put on their slaves to let you know whether, oh, you belong to the Johnson family, you belong to this family, specifically because of their um, particular brand uh, upon the slave. It says reverence honoring as supreme. Yeah, trust obedience given as something ultimate, not merely forced. Yeah, it said not merely, but that's what it is. Trust on obedience. That's like, and ID. That's something else. It's not. That's not. That's not even a sin. That's because we're in the world. We're not of the world. And people, hey, they'll do that all day. Even the common people, they'll say, well, yeah, I need an ID. I'll go get it. I need a social security card. I'll go get it. I need a birth certificate. I'll go get it. But when you say, well, um, you know, I need, this device, you gotta put it in you. They're gonna be like, hold on, that seems kind of strange or immoral. Um, so it's definitely gonna be something like, oh, that's different. Um, and it'll, a lot of people believe it'll go against their human rights. um, but if it's, you know, overall the power system, if there's a state of chaos, and we call it order out of chaos, is a state of, you know, people running wild because they're policing the world. We know this. They have police stations and SWAT teams and drones in every state of the United States. So if anyone gets out of order, breaks the American law or laws, um, and they differ from every state, of course, but they still, the overall president of this place, we is considered a king also. Come and if it's against American standards, American rules and regulations, according to the government, according to what they put into law, then definitely you're considered a criminal or considered you know a lawbreaker. So then they have to do something with you. They have to take you to jail, or uh, you have to go through court procedures, or they you know kind of basically almost like putting a lawsuit against you. You have to pay fines and all that. So the intensity of what they could actually display from a powerful point from the government is to say, hey, this is extreme. We need 24-hour tracking with you. We need, um, make sure that you're in the line with the government. So, paperwork and all that, and certificates and IDs. People hack and people, pretend they use fake IDs some people don't have their IDs, or you know what have you, or some identification. Then they like, what do we do with this person? So it's easier for them, and they'll set it up as probably as some gradual. They'll have stations just like they do with the new ID. It's not like mandatory right, in full effect, but they do say, well, by this time you're gonna have to have the new ID, or it's gonna be difficult for you. You know, you might get arrested or you might go to jail, and they'll present that the MOTB the same way. Eventually, you know, you'll people will take it, or um, forced in some kind of way by the higher authorities because of the magnitude of them, and their laws, trying to figure out who's acceptable or not to live in society among people. Because, like I said, everything's gonna get chaotic. People are gonna get beastly. It's already kind of happening like that. Like people are bugging out. Gunmen are everywhere. Shootouts, shooting up schools and public places, especially if they have an attack such as, like sleeper cell attack. Blowing up a mall or a school, or some public place. And then it's going to be domestic terrorism. Then it's going to be, hey, the government gets involved. Trump talks and being like, hey, we can't have this. We got to put our foot down. And it's happened before, with the Memorial Building in downtown Oklahoma City, with the Twin Towers, 9/11 on the East Coast, and inside insurgents getting inside, spies getting inside of the United States from another country. Scripture repeatedly distinguishes between outward submission under force, inward devotion of the heart. Well, your inner devotion of the heart will be manifest because they're going to make you move in a certain way to where they want to see you. Just like going back to even Yahweh Shai, the devil took him up on the mountain and said, I'll give you all these kingdoms if thou bow down to me. He didn't say, well, just say within you, out of your mouth, that you worship me. He wanted to see actually Yahweh Shai perform it. It says Daniel served Babylon administratively, but refused to worship. But what happened to Daniel? He got thrown in the lion's den, man. They didn't just be like, well, you're gonna have to get a certificate to say that you are in alliance with the Babylonian rules and regulations. Now they actually put him in a physical prison and up against physical opposition, which was the lions, and they purposely didn't feed the lions purposely, so the lions would devour him as soon as they saw him. But of course, the Most High was with Daniel to deliver him from the lion's den. So they want to see some physical, see it with their eyes, some physical performed. And going back to this branding, that's something that they wanted to see physically. Looking upon the mark and seeing like, oh, okay, we looked upon you, saw that mark, and now, oh, okay, we'll go from there. you are American citizen, or do you belong to this property, and they still could get easily still could get punished because they ran away, which is act of disobedience. But they still wanted to see a physical mark upon them. And none's new under the sun. It says that none's new under the sun. This is it's Rome all over again. This is spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Let me see if they say that Egypt use branding. I'll start to close out, but I just wanted to point that out. Let me see. Did Egypt what is crazy? Use slave branding techniques or methods? There's no solid archaeological or textual evidence that ancient Egypt routinely branded slaves the way later societies like Rome did. However, Egypt did mark people, and branding was known in limited context, so that ideal isn't impossible, but it was not a standard widespread slave practice. So they're saying, GPT is saying they did brand. It wasn't like tattoos and marks, you know. And, people, the heathen mainly, and even our people, man, they'll do that too. And it says do not print, it actually says print. Do not print any markings upon you of the dead. Actually, let me go there. So, like the brothers have been saying, the elders been saying that it's a sin, but it's not, it's breaking the Most High, but it's not the MOTB. Like, sin is not the MOTB. But you are sinning if you, put markings upon you, especially the MOTB. But it's not sin. It's going to that word charagma, which we always do in the blue letter, incision, a pulse discharge, and it talks about a grievous sore in the Revelation. If you let me get that scripture where it says print, don't print any markings, and I'm gonna get that definition in the blue letter, right, and close out. It says Leviticus 19:28, ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. See, cuttings, and you go to that word charagma is incision. So incision comes from the word scissor. So you cutting up in your flesh, cutting, it's the cutting of the flesh, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. So let me see that word. Print. Nathan.
Strong's H 5414. Nathan.
No, that's actually Nathawa, I think. Nathawa. Looks like, and it says to give, to make, constitute, to be given, bestowed, to be set, put, made, and inflicted, entrusted, to be granted to. See, you entrust, to be granted to, be permitted, be issued. So yeah, even in, with like you print up on paper, like you sign a policy, you're making a constitution, you're making a covenant with whatever policy you're signing. So, just like a job, and then they're gonna look at it like, well, yeah, you this is in the policy that you can't do this. You signed it, you know, and with ink or something. But what is that ink gonna be with or even in the music industry or the Hollywood industry overall? Like they signed their name in blood, you know, as a covenant to the basically to the and to as an alliance to the beast. I mean to that to that that body, that evil body of or that evil authority, you know, which is Hollywood. But that's just a piece of it, and it's the same overall with the B system, which is the image. B system, which is NATO system, EU. Image is the you know the system, and then the alliance with the beast. You know, to where you have permission to do something like buying or selling is a mark upon you. A signet. What it says with this mark. Any marks? Just seeing what it says.
Strong's H 7085.
Well, it says the same thing. Incision and printing, imprintment, tattoo or mark. You know. So it's or a gash mark, and it's similar because, you know, it's like even going back to the Roman, it's ownership, like you're owned by the beast. You're basically signing a commitment, signing paper. You know, it's like as if you signing a policy or signing insurance to where you're, you know, making a covenant or making an alliance with what the policy says, what your signing says, and what is required of you to do so. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, well, this is required because, you know, we don't know if you're an American citizen. We don't know your background. And plus, with all this AI and confusion, you know, and let's say it's a blackout and a major blackout and they wipe out all the information, like all the data in the computers, you know, are gone. It's gone. And, you know, your phones and all that. And it's what they call it? They knock out the grid, and it's a bug. It's you know, and all the computers have error on them, and it resets, and all that information is gone. You're gonna have to start all over and start fresh. Like, well, okay, who are you? What's your name? You know, are you an American citizen? Now you gonna like yes, but they're gonna be like, well, yeah, we don't have no identification because everything is gone. So how do we know? You know, and they making it known. You know how they have, and I'll close out with this. You know how they have over there on the other side of the world. Sometimes even on the grounds of America, they have an act of terror, a terrorist act of terrorist, or you know, and then the guy, he looks like us with a beard. You know, you put a turban on him or cover, he gonna look like an Arab or something. You know, so they could kind of make you be like, well, damn, I don't know. Like even us, you know, and the things that we say and speaking from the Bible and that those kind of strict point of views that we have according to what the Bible says is an Eastern standard. It's like, oh, they believe in this. They have more than one wife. That's what the Arabs believe in. That's what you know these crazy radical people from the Eastern world believe in. So they don't. Damn, they're just like them. So they definitely want to, and America citizens that's especially heavy into racism and protecting their rights, and you know, before all this integration with Negroes and you know going back to the 50s and before have that old American traditional standards of you know being an enemy against us or being you know opposite of us, they're definitely gonna want that. Anyway, yeah, talk too much. Hopefully, they're fine. Shalom.